Hey, do you know who the Rams' very, very first draft pick was of all time? This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. And I was
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the March 27th, 2023 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. If you've been in an auto accident, need help, if you got questions, call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues? Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. So where are we at? I'll tell you where we're at right now. We are at this point where the NCAA tournament dominated the weekend. No one watched me, which is okay because it's the NCAA tournament. But before I get into Ram talk and NFL talk right now, I need to get a couple things off my chest. First, get rid of the foul out rule in college basketball. The great players are one and done. So give us a chance to see them play and not have them bounce from the game because they got 2 fouls or 3 fouls in the first half. It's ridiculous. It's archaic. If a guy gets his 6th foul, then you could disqualify him, or even wiser, let him get a 6th foul and then give the other team 2 shots. If he picks up 8 fouls, give the other team 3 shots. Work it out that way, but let's keep the talent on the floor. You only get the great talent for 1 year. Might as well let us see them. And if I am an NIL guy, if I'm feeding money to these athletes and his name and image is something I'm paying for, I want to see it on the court. I don't want to see it taken away because of some stripe with a quick whistle. 2, I love the fact, one of my favorite aspects of this year is that I love the fact that we only have UConn representing the Blue Bloods in basketball, right? There's no North Carolina, there's no Duke, there's no it's been a while. There's no Kentucky, even UCLA. Although I would have loved to have seen UCLA, even though I'm not a huge fan. UCLA is a blue blood. It would be good to see a blue blood, but I like seeing these mid-major schools. I love it, and so I'm definitely rooting for Florida Atlantic and San Diego State. And I wouldn't mind seeing Miami because they've always been considered a football school. And you need to remember this, no matter what they say, okay? And I'm talking about pundits and NCAA. Remember this, and it's true in all walks of life. The elites do not love you, right? And if there's an elite class, they might be nice to you, but they're never going to accept you, and they don't love you. And they'll deliver some sophistry about how great this is, but they actually hate the fact that Florida Atlantic and San Diego State and these schools are in the tournament, that schools like Creighton and even Princeton hung around so long because they want to see Arizona in there. They want to see the North Carolinas. They want to see, again, the Blue Bloods. And this really upsets the apple cart. And again, here's the other thing the NCAA hates, and even the KBM media hates, is that, remember this, they will work the rules to keep this kind of stuff from happening again. They always do. We've heard about the Power 5 conferences wanting to break off, and everyone say, oh, let's see the best of the best. But the truth of the matter is, you're not always seeing the best of the best. At the blue blood schools, you're getting the elite athlete, but you're not getting the best basketball player. And I think we've seen some really good basketball players over the weekend and the weeks of the NCAA tournament. And remember this also, after Villanova beat Georgetown in 1985, because Georgetown was supposed to win it, right? And Villanova won it. Villanova wasn't supposed to be there. That's when they put the shot clock in. The following season, the 45-second shot clock was put in, and another piece of the game was given away to the athletes and taken away from the basketball players. And this is what the NBA suffers from, is that the game of basketball, which is a beautiful game, suffers from the fact is that it's given over to the athletes who can do amazing things. And you see that in the NBA now. They do amazing things athletically, but they really can't play basketball. There's a reason why Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, who were all earth, were the greatest basketball players of all time. And it's because they know how to play basketball. There's a reason that players like Karl Malone and John Stockton played for 20 years at a high level. It's because they know how to play basketball. These players today, let's be honest, folks, they don't know how to play basketball. They just don't. They're tremendous athletes. They got great skills, but in terms of basketball IQ, they don't have it. The NCAA hates it. So there we go. How long did that last? That lasted 5 minutes and 30 seconds. There we go. Okay. I am trusting my audio is coming in. I had to start 3 different times today to get this show on the road, and it was tough. It was tough getting there. I want to get this in real quick here. I bought this book last year. It's the 1951 Los Angeles Rams. The Pro Football Research Association did this. And Derek Ciapala, he hosts Rams Talk. He's one of the better Ram podcasters out there. And he contributed to this. He helped with some of the editing and stuff. And you guys might want to check this out if you're a big Ram fan. And a really interesting, great read for anyone really into football. But I wanted to get that out because I feel like I owed it to those guys. They did a great job with this book. Look at this. I can hawk a book that wasn't written by me. Unbelievable. There you go. What a great guy I am. Okay, so Lamar Jackson. We're hitting the same point with Lamar Jackson as we did with Zen Rodgers. I don't care anymore. And there's this breaking news all over the place that on March 2nd, he demanded a trade 25 days ago. I guess it made it official, but it doesn't feel like an earthquake to me on March 27th. Dude wants out. Dude wants his dough. He wants it guaranteed. And I figured he's been on the block ever since they tagged him, right? When they tagged him with the franchise tag, the non-exclusive tag. And so I don't know. Everyone's having fun speculating on deals about Lamar Jackson. I really don't care because no one is discussing his limitations. Oh, he was the MVP in 2019. But those limitations are what make teams hesitant, right? It's called Cam Newton. And I believe that Lamar Jackson's a harder worker, a better leader, a greater contributor to his team and leadership. He's got all the traits. It's just that his game doesn't translate into a 5-year fully guaranteed deal worth over $200 million. Sorry, no, very few teams outside of the brain dead Browns are going to play that. They're just not going to. So everyone's speculating, and I'm going to finish it today, and I'm not really going to go back into it until something happens. There's talk about the Colts. There's talk about the Falcons. There's talk about the Patriots. Well, I haven't seen the Patriots make a deal like that in a long time, so I'm not really too caught up with the Patriots doing this. The Texans, yeah, I can see the Texans, but the Texans look like they have a plan, as do the Falcons. But first, let me get into the Colts. If I'm the Colts and I like Anthony Richardson, I think I'm going to hold on to number 4 and get the quarterback I want with less miles, not Les Miles, the head coach, less miles on his body than Lamar Jackson has. And of course, there's an HC that's in Indianapolis now, Shane Steichen, that knows how to use Anthony Richardson because he got it out of Jalen Hurts last year. Now, I don't think Anthony Richardson's anywhere near Jalen Hurts. He's got a lot of upside, and that's a big roll of the dice. But here's the thing. I can get the quarterback I want with a coach that knows how to use him at a rookie price. And he doesn't have mileage, right? He doesn't have mileage. So I don't know why the Colts would want to make that deal. If you're the Falcons, you've done all this hard work getting out from the Matt Ryan era. You took your hits, you took your lumps. You've done all this hard work. You've built up your team. You got a good offensive line. You've got some skill guys at tight end, Drake London. You got Pitts at tight end. You got Drake London at wide receiver. You got some talent there. Cordell Patterson's on the lineup on the team there. And you're limited because you don't really have a number 1 quarterback, right? It's Desmond Ridder. But you've done all this hard work to get to this point. To me, instead of finishing the process, right, you're going to jump in with Lamar Jackson. I just don't see that. The The Falcons have 8 picks this year. They draft 3 times inside the top 100. They have number 8 overall. They could use a corner. They could use an edge. And maybe another receiver, but they can get that at 44 or 75. Next year, they have all their premium picks, 1, 2, 3, 4. They have all their premium picks. And do you want to like forego that? Do you want to give up 8 this year overall and your number 1 next year for Lamar Jackson? Really? I don't know if I want to do that. And they have plenty of cap space. And here's the other thing about Desmond Ridder is that they spent a 3rd round, 74th overall on Desmond Ridder. Yeah, he's got limitations, but he played a lot of college football. He had a lot of experience. He's 6'3", 207. I think I want to see what I have in Desmond Ridder before I jump in with Lamar Jackson. If Desmond Ridder's not the guy, I still have draft resources and cap space to maybe make a decision on what I want to do in 2024. I just don't see jumping in bed with Lamar Jackson. Okay, so also NFL owners meeting. I got this allergy stuff, but every time I do it, you get to see the mug for my sponsor. Okay, they want to decrease the number of punts and kickoffs and everything. Well, the first thing I would think about if I'm the NFL is I'd get rid of the specialists. You know, you want to take a lot of the heavy kicking out of the game. Make the punter and kicker a designated starter. Make sure the teams designate who their punter and kicker is before the game, and they got to be one of the 22 starters. Get rid of the specialists. Grandfather in the current ones, but once they're cut, once they're retired, once they're not traded, they can't be traded. Once a team gets rid of them, phase them out. Phase out the specialists. You know, your quarterback used to be a triple threat. They ran, they threw, and they kicked the ball. Maybe we should go back to that if the teams want to get out of the punting and kicking game and make them less go-tos than they have been. Also, any safety talks from the NFL mean nothing when you're asking players to perform on Thursday night following a Sunday game. Please don't talk about players' safety, but you're going to make them roll out there. I mean, we're not even talking high school ball. We're talking NFL football, which is brutal, right? If you've been on a college field and you see how they hit, think how they hit at the NFL. My guys that I know, I've never really been on a sideline during the game, the actual sideline photographers, they see things that they never thought they'd seen. These guys are just off the charts and they're just killing each other. But we're going to make them play on Sunday and then bring them back on Thursday night. You're not serious about injuries and everything if you're still playing the Thursday night game. You know, go away. You know, come back when you're serious and I'll listen to you. Also, if you're not going to review the roughing the passer calls, right? If you're not going to review those or forcible blows to the head, it's also a joke. You review every other stupid thing on the planet. Review those calls because half the time you see where it's like, wait a second, the guy didn't do anything. It just looked bad, right? I go back to Nick Scott, may his career rest in peace in Cincy. I go back to Nick Scott in the conference final. I think it was the conference final against the 49ers back in 22 when he leveled Deebo Samuel. Remember when he leveled him? Always, put him in the ring of honor if there's ever a ring of honor for the Rams for when he leveled Deebo Samuel. But I remember the instant it happened, I thought, oh, what a bummer. It's going to be a flag. Now, to their credit, everyone saw it was a clean hit. It was a clean hit. But we've seen plays like that before where the mere appearance of some kind of impropriety, the flag is thrown. And also, you got to have a discussion about offensive players lowering their helmet as a player is going in to make a tackle. You know, they're aiming at mid-range to below the shoulder, and then a player lowers his head, and then the defensive player is punished for it. If you're not going to review and talk about those things, you're not serious about anything else. All right. As we come up to the 15-minute mark, what now in NFL news, Sidney Jones. Sidney Jones was a second-round, 43rd overall draft pick of the Eagles out of Washington back in 2017. I bring up Sidney Jones because he is signed with Cincy. We saw Sidney Jones play play high school football at West Covina out here. And so we got a soft spot for head coach Mike Maggiore and his Bulldogs that make it to the NFL. Jones actually spent a couple years in Seattle, had some of his best years in Seattle, which was interesting because former West Covina Bulldog Walter Thurman actually played with the Seahawks in their Super Bowl winning year. And so Jones has gone from the Eagles to Jacksonville, to Seattle, Las Vegas, and now he's in Cincy, and we wish him well and those tender hamstrings. Brian Edwards, wide receiver, who was drafted by the Raiders, 81st overall in 2020, had the build, everything, got traded for an undisclosed draft choice to the Falcons before last season, was a free agent. He reunites with Derek Carr in New Orleans and signs her. I like Brian Edwards. I don't know why he hasn't made it, but it's interesting to see him get another shot. Also, before we go to the commercial here, I wanted to share. I'm a little verklempt, a little too excited. Let me take a drink. Talk amongst yourselves. The Rams free agents were not in super high demand. Are you noticing that? After Matt Gay got his contract in Indy, and even their long snapper got 3 years in Green Bay, Matt Orzech, the big contracts haven't really come, right? I mean, I don't know what the number was on Taylor Rapp when he signed his one-year deal in Buffalo, but I don't think he got 10 mil, which some people were projecting insanely. Greg Gaines went pretty quick, but if you've noticed, A'Shawn Robinson is still floating around out there. Last I read, about 8 days ago, the Giants were talking to him, but A'Shawn Robinson is still out there. And hey, if the Rams want to bring him back for a rock, I'm down. And interesting enough, who came back to the Rams? Marquise Copeland, because they didn't tender him. The feeling was he was going to get a better deal, and he did not get a better deal. And now he's back with the Rams. I don't think he's making a rock with them. I think he's probably going to make just a tiny bit less to keep his NFL career going. And that covers the first half of the show. I'm Joe Terosian. I was a sports writer for 21 years at various places, one of the founding members at Mid-Valley Sports that is still kicking, covering high school football, college football, and the NFL. They're in the room with the Chargers, so I usually get some Charger dope like the Austin Eckler stuff from Tim Peterson, the lead writer over there. And so I worked with them for a number of years. I was a sports writer for a number of years. I also write books. I can talk about my book now because I talked about the Ram book. Here's the Ram book. You can get this on Amazon, and you can get my books on Amazon. Joe Terosian, Torsian, and I've written a couple high school football novels and some dystopian Christian. And the dystopian Christian links up because my day job is I pastor a small church in Burbank, and you could follow us right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, as well as on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find us all over there. But I'm fortunate because I get to talk Ram football when my allergies aren't kicking up. Anyone else's allergies kick up? Mine have gone insane. End of commercial here. Okay, today's March 27th. On this date in 2001, Kim Herring signed a 5-year contract with the Rams. He had been a second round, 58th overall, draft pick by the Baltimore Ravens in 1997. He played 4 years. He was on their Super Bowl winning team, and he was one of the first players to leave off that team. He went to the Rams, went back to another Super Bowl in 2001, the one we lost in Super Bowl 36 to the New England Patriots. He was a starter for the Rams in 2001, 2002, spent 2003 on the IR, played with the Bengals in 2004, and called it a career after a shoulder injury cost him 2005. So Kim Herring, he kind of came and went really fast, and a nice job for the Rams. It was also interesting about Kim Herring is that he replaced Keith Lyle. Do you remember Keith Lyle? Rams had taken him out of Virginia in the second round back in 93. And, I don't know, was he second round? But anyway, he was taken out of Virginia, and Keith Lyle was a mainstay in the Rams secondary for a number of years with Todd Light, and they were on that 99 Super Bowl team. But Keith Lyle was released the day the Rams signed Kim Herring. In 2008, I thought this was interesting because I didn't like this guy as a receiver, and he came and went so fast, I didn't even know the Rams had him in camp, is Rashae Caldwell. Do you remember Rashae Caldwell? He had some time with the Chargers and the Patriots, and he had some key drops. He was a second-round pick, 48th overall by the Chargers. He lasted till about 2007. On this day in 2008, he signed a one-year contract with the Rams, but he didn't make the final cut. At the end of August, he was cut, and his NFL career is over. Sadly, he got in a lot of trouble after his playing days, and he was shot and killed on June 6, 2020, in what was not considered a random shooting, that there was some bad mojo involved. Also, on March 27th, do you remember that question I asked at the top of the show? Who was the Rams' first draft pick? Well, on March 27th, 1916, a dude named Johnny Drake out of Purdue was born and then later drafted 10th overall at the end of the first round by the Rams in 1937. Of course, they were in Cleveland then, and he is the answer to the trivia question, who was the first draft pick ever by the Rams. And he was a star. 5 seasons in the NFL. From 38 to 1940, he was an NFL All-Star. 1940, he was All-Pro. Scored 27 career touchdowns. Of course, it was a different NFL then. He led the NFL in rushing twice with 9 touchdowns in 1939, 1940. And he passed for 2 TDs in 1940. 5 years, 11 game seasons, and he never missed a game. And his career high was 480 yards rushing in 1940. And again, different NFL, but Johnny Drake, that's kind of an interesting little piece of trivia, was born on this day in 1916. He passed away at the age of 56 in 1973. Also on March 27th, 1923, this is another interesting one, a guy named Dick Huffman was born. Now, Dick Huffman, as Vince Ferragamo takes a fall, Dick Huffman played at the University of Tennessee. The Rams drafted him in the 9th round in 1945, and he was in the Army. He didn't join the team until 1947, and he played with the team for 4 years. 3 times he was a first-team All-Pro, played in the Pro Bowl in 1950, and then something interesting happened. He didn't like the contract the Rams were offering him going into 1951, and he went to the CFL, and the Rams took him to court, and the argument was the same argument, this reserve clause where a player was perpetually stuck with the team. The same thing Curt Flood went to court over later, about 20 years later in Major League Baseball. Dick Huffman was the same thing. The Rams got an injunction to where he couldn't sign to play with Winnipeg of the CFL, and he ended up winning. Well, it says he lost his case initially, but eventually he won the right to play in Winnipeg, and he then closed his career in Calgary in 1957 as a two-way player, defensive end and tackle, and he's in the Canadian Football League Hall of Fame. I thought that was really interesting. Now, the other thing interesting about Dick Huffman, plays for the Rams from 1947 to 1950. He's an all-star, right? He leaves. The Rams win the title in 1951, and they win their second world championship. And the interesting thing about that, besides having Waterfield and Van Brocklin and running out there, Tom Fears and Crazy Legs Hirsch and the Bull Elephant backfield of Deacon Dan Towler and Dick Horner and all those guys, is the Rams offensive line in 1951, they started 5 rookies, right? 5 rookies. Huffman was one of the guys that was replaced when the Rams won the championship in 1951. I thought that was pretty interesting. Rams restructured Brian Allen's contract. We know that. They re-signed Michael Hoyt. And as of today, they have brought back Marquise Copeland, 6'2", 287. Again, he's just okay. He's not a showstopper. He feels undersized. And I know I say 6'2", 287. Someone's going to come back and say, well, Aaron Donald, if you look him up, is 6'1", 280. Well, Marquise Copeland is no Aaron Donald, right? We know that. And so we can only have one Aaron Donald. And I want big fat dudes. I want Bubba's blocking those. I want Ashawn Robinson builds, Greg Gaines motors in my defensive lineman, and hopefully maybe Bobby Brown III can fill that gap. I'm not against Marquise Copeland. He's played okay, but he is what he is, right? And the NFL market just kind of proved that he is what he is. Him and Jonah Williams are contributors, but they're undersized dudes. They're part of the rotation. Rams tight end Bryson Hopkins turns 26 today, so happy birthday to him. Bryson Hopkins, high draft pick of the Rams in 2020, didn't play in 2020, got limited action in 2021, and then had 4 catches in the Super Bowl. And again, I always go back to it when it's 4th down. The Rams are on their side of the field on the final drive. Yes, we know about the no-look pass that Matthew Stafford threw, but remember we ran the jet sweep, or the Rams ran the jet sweep with Cooper Kupp. Well, the guy that got the seal block on the outside there was Bryson Hopkins that helped spring Cooper Kupp to the first down. And Hopkins is not a Tyler Higbee when it comes to blocking, but he got it done that day. He had 4 catches in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, he's a Ram player that was worth having, right? And I think the Rams got him 134 overall in 2020. And so he has an opportunity this year to really break out. We hope it happens, because it's better happen now or it's not going to happen. The team reports, players start reporting April 17th. OTAs begin 3rd week of May, go to early June, and then mandatory minicamp starts in mid-June, June 13th through the 15th. As we said, former Ram Taylor Rapp signed a 1-year deal in Buffalo. Seattle re-signs Bobby Wagner, 1 year, $7 million. He got a raise, right? I think he was going to make 5 this year for the Rams. He makes 7 going back to Seattle. Good for him. And that adds Taylor Rapp, Bobby Wagner, David Edwards, Brandon Powell, Riley Dixon, David Long, Nick Scott, Greg Gaines, Matt Orzech, Matt Gay, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Ramsey traded, Leonard Floyd, still a free agent, and Ashawn Robinson, still a free agent. All those guys are all out there or gone from last year's team. So all your specialists, your kick returner, punt returner, gone. Your long snapper's gone. Your punter's gone, and your kicker's gone. Wiped out. And on defense, you've lost both safeties. You lost your inside linebacker. That's 3. You lost your key corner. That's 4. You lost Greg Gaines, 5. Ashawn Robinson is gone, 6, right? Leonard Floyd is gone, 7. So depending on how you want to add it up, you got Ernest Jones, and you've got Aaron Donald coming back, and then Kobe Durant, and then maybe kind of sort of Darian Kendrick. I didn't even count Troy Hill, because I don't like counting Troy Hill. So Kevin Demoff says it's not a total rebuild. I don't know if that's going to get me a credential to get in with the Rams, but I don't know. I'm a little suspect about Demoff's motivations there. Is he saying it's not a total rebuild, or is he just trying to convince people to keep buying tickets and such? So keep that one under your hat. Okay, latest NFL draft just released today by CBS Sports. I've also got a Steve Ramirez mock draft. Another one. Steve's addicted to him, as he says. But the NFL mock draft, the first 10 players taken by CBS Sports have the Panthers taking C.J. Stroud, Houston Texans taking Bryce Young, the Cardinals taking Will Anderson on the edge. And my thinking is, if I'm the Cardinals, I can get an edge player a little further down. I might want to trade down and pick up some other pieces, because I'm in total rebuild mode. By the time I get everything rebuilt, I mean, are you really banking on Kyler Murray? Because by the time I get everything rebuilt, Anderson's going to be hitting his 4th year of his contract and maybe looking to walk. Maybe you could get some other pieces and speed the process. Number 4, the Colts are slated to take Anthony Richardson. We've talked about that. We're seeing that in a lot of places. The Seahawks are projected by CBS Sports to take Tyree Wilson, the edge out of Texas Tech. This guy's like, 6'6", 271, but he's having foot surgery, and so he's not even working out on his pro day. That's a nervous thing. And all of a sudden, everyone's in love with Luke Van Ness, the edge from Iowa. And I hadn't seen him anywhere near the top 10 until Daniel Jeremiah's thing comes out. And then CBS has him all the way up at number 6 going to the Lions. And I guess the Lions, CBS is projecting the Lions are trying to corner the market on white dude edge players with Aiden Hutchinson, and now they want to put Luke Van Ness there. I don't know. I don't see it. Whatever. Okay. The Raiders taking Miles Murphy at defensive tackle out of Clemson at number 7. The Falcons, they have the Falcons we talked about earlier, rolling the dice, that's what it is now, with Jalen Carter, defensive tackle out of Georgia. He would be a huge get for them if he's there and if he's going to have an NFL career, because I really question the wisdom of somebody that falls apart between January and the draft with foolish decisions and then coming in out of shape for his pro day. Preposterous. Bears projected to draft another tackle. We've seen Skoronski and other guys. This one has Paris Johnson Jr. out of Ohio State going to the Bears at number 9. And Christian Gonzalez dropping from a number 6 in most mock drafts to number 10 to the Eagles at Oregon. That's a premium corner. I like him better than Devon Witherspoon. Also in the CBS mock draft, they projected the Rams trading into the first round, sending to the Detroit Lions number 36 overall, number 77 overall, and their second rounder in 2024 to move from 36 to number 18. And drum roll, please, they project the Rams taking Will Levis out of Kentucky. I thought that was interesting. I don't know how you draft Will Levis this year and still stay on track with, hey, it's not a rebuild, right? I'm not going to be against it. I'd like to see, but really? You're going to draft a guy at number 18 that's a quarterback and it's not a rebuild? I don't know. You need that edge guy, right? You need that edge guy. The Rams have nothing on defense. At number 69, which is would be the Rams' only pick left if this trade were to happen, at number 69, CBS Sports projects Kalijah Cansey of Pittsburgh. Rams have had good fortune with Pittsburgh DTs and down linemen going to the Rams at number 69. Of course, I've seen Cansey in the first round. I've seen him taken before Maisie Smith with Michigan. I've seen him taken right after Maisie Smith with Michigan. I don't know if Kalijah Cansey would still be there at 69. All right. Hendon Hooker was projected to go 50th overall to Tampa Bay, and we see that Hendon Hooker climbing up the boards a little bit more. Of course, that's not first round. Recent Rams mock draft. I keep going to Steve Ramirez because he loves doing them, and he puts a lot of thought in it. Steve Ramirez is a good Ram fan, but he's also a good football guy. If I did 21 years as a paid sports writer, Steve Ramirez did close to 40, and so he knows his business. And Steve ran another mock draft for the Rams, and in this mock draft on Sunday, he still has number 36, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, the edge from Kansas State, going to the Rams. And here's the interesting thing about Steve's mock draft. Until I saw Steve's mock draft was last week, I hadn't seen Uzomah anywhere near the first round. And in 2 mock drafts I've seen since then, I've seen Uzomah in the late first round. So Steve's probably set a trend here. And then he did some good for my heart at number 69. He drafted Tanner McKee. I love this pick. I really don't want the slop that's down at the 5th round or lower. Again, we want a quarterback, right? If we're going to groom to take Matthew Stafford's place. And if we're not in a rebuild, we're not necessarily going to be in the top 10 of the draft, right? Because the Rams wouldn't lie to us, right? Garrett Williams, the corner from Syracuse, again falls to the Rams at 77. I have seen more mock drafts with Garrett Williams landing with the Rams. I've seen so many mock drafts with Garrett Williams landing with the Rams that I'm beginning to think the Rams have already signed him, right? I loved Ramirez's draft because he grabbed a second edge, Yasir Abdullah out of Louisville. He grabbed tight end Davis Allen out of Clemson. He grabbed a second interior defensive lineman. Actually, at first, Jonah Tavai out of San Diego State. I like that. And he drafted his guy, Antonio Mafi, guard out of UCLA. I do love those picks. And, of course, the obligatory safety, the obligatory wide receiver, he drafted. And at 251 overall, he drafted T.J. Bass, tackle out of Oregon, to join A.J. Akuria's 7th round, 250 plus players the Rams have drafted at tackle the last 2 years. I like the draft. I really do. I'd love to see, because again, if you're a Ram fan, how do you project in any way, shape, or form the Rams not taking an edge at number 36? I just can't get around it. Now, could I see them dealing back to in the 50 range? Because there's a lot of edge players, then getting multiple inside 100 picks. Okay, I could see that. But how do they not take an edge? And when I see a draft that has them at 36 taking a tackle, a guard, or a center, or a safety, I saw one that had them taking a linebacker, Jack Campbell out of Iowa. I'm just looking at people that aren't serious about what they're doing. They're just trying to get a good grade in their mock draft. Okay. Again, want to remind everybody, Rams comp picks and their draft order is all set. 11 picks this year. They're likely, with everybody they've lost this year, they will get 4 compensation picks to go with their 8 draft picks next year. So 11 picks this year, 12 picks next year, and in every round as well next year. So Rams draft at 36, 69, and 77. That's the second and 2 and the third on the second day, and then they don't pick again until the 5th round on the last day at 167, 171, and 177. And then in the 6th round, 182, 189, 191. And then in the 7th round, 223, 251. Don't sell these picks short. The picks 5 through 7. Do not let anyone talk you into selling you short. The Rams have found value there. Where do you think you got Nick Scott, right? Where do you think you got some of these guys that have contributed to this team over the years? All right. I think we're good. Wow, a couple of viewers, a couple of likes. If you're out there, let me know. Rough day today. Vince fell off the wall. I had 3 previous starts to this show, but volume was messed up. Everything just went wrong today. So it must have meant for a good show. Thank you so much for clicking on. Please hit like. Get your friends to subscribe. We really need our subscriptions to kick up. We want to do that now because we are on 3 times a week during the off season when others are kind of taking a vacation. We're here talking Ram football. God bless. Take care. And we will see you soon. God bless.